It's the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look at loom plays and strategy specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to NASCAR, this isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot them away on Twitter, BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything you hear with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that's just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Xfinity Series at Mid-Ohio this week. A lot of things going on here. I'm going to assume you don't know because a lot of people say, oh, I don't know about these rules and everything. So no live pit stops. Since the Xfinity Series is at a different track than the Cup Series, we can't have, multiple teams and everything, like certain teams using Cup Series teams. So anyway, no live pit stops this week. Under caution, you can't lose positions on pit road. However, you can only take fuel or tires during a pit road session. If you want to take both tires and fuel during a caution period, you have to come down pit road twice. If you come down pit road under green, you can still only do fuel or tires, but it has to be a 60-second pit stop. Can't be any sooner. Can be longer than 60 seconds, but it can't be any sooner. That's really the only thing you need to kind of know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. If anything, this week should just mean that the guys who should finish up front will finish up front. And because of the whole pit stop and 60-second minimum, I think that hurts the guys in the back. I think that actually helps the guys in the front. If Austin Cindric and Ty Dillon are pretty much racing by themselves and they're 8 seconds ahead of whoever's behind them in third, and then they go in and pit, and then everybody's kind of doing it, all it does is help the top series teams. That's the only thing it is. And so that's the only thing I wanted to bring up here. I think this week lines up perfectly with kind of how the Coca-Cola 600 went, where I think it's going to be a race where we don't see a lot of cautions, where we see the race kind of play out the way it should play out, and the guys who should finish well. I think that's just how it's going to happen. What is it, Brian? You haven't done anything. What are you doing? Look, I'm going to be doing the rankings as I kind of go through them. I already did the projections. I already have some lineups done. I really like this week. For both series, but I think it's pretty cut and dry. Good guys should get up to the front. Bad teams should stay in the back. I'm going to be making 15 lineups this week for the 10, for the 3, and the 1. That's just where I'm at. So keep that in mind as we go through. Looking at, do you guys really want to hear about like track history? I'm pretty sure you can find that yourselves. The only thing that I'm looking at when I'm projecting how drivers are going to do is I'm looking at the amount of fast laps and laps led, or basically dominator points, hog points, whatever you want to call it. How many of those each driver is having on average? And specifically looking at the road courses this year for the Xfinity Series, I know we've only gone to 2 this year. I think that's a better idea, or I think that's a better starting point to see how drivers are going to go versus really diving deep into like track history. Like I don't need to look into track history to know that Cindric is probably the best road course racer. It's either him or Ty Gibbs winning this race. I don't need to go back to see, how many first place finishes does Austin Cindric have in the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series. I do want to pay attention to how many, dominator points he's gotten this year. So he got 12 at the Daytona road course. He got 1 at COTA, but that was because Kyle Busch was just killing everybody at the field there. The only person who had more points than him at COTA, other than Kyle Busch, was A.J. Allmendinger. So that's showing me, based on COTA, Cindric and A.J. Allmendinger should get laps led or fast laps. If you look at how many, dominator points that A.J. Allmendinger got at the Daytona road course, it was 2. So A.J. Allmendinger has gotten 2 dominator points he's gotten 2 hog points at the Daytona road course and COTA, and then Cindric has 12 dominator points at the Daytona road course, gotten 1 at COTA. I still think it's going to be Cindric and A.J. Allmendinger most likely getting fast laps and laps led. Same thing with Ty Gibbs. I know Ty Gibbs, dominated literally dominated. Like he legit whooped their ass at the road course. He got 9 dominator points there. Obviously didn't run COTA, but I can easily give Ty Gibbs probably 8 dominator points in total from that. And so that's kind of how I'm going about it. If anything, I'm trying to pin down fast laps and laps led more than anything this week. So for example, I'm giving Cindric 27 laps led, 14 fast laps. I'm giving Ty Gibbs 23 laps led, 11 fast laps. A.J. Allmendinger, 7 laps led, 5 fast laps, just to try and get, you know, some sort of projection in there, because place differential is where you're going to want to go. That's just how we're looking at it. So as we're going through our rankings, and if you want me to go into more detail, you know, let me know. A lot of people are content with me kind of just ranking this stuff. I like going into detail, but, you know, a lot of people get bored by that. And this is similar to, you know, kind of a normal Xfinity race, to where like Kyle Busch is in the field, where he doesn't necessarily have to hit value. He just kind of gobbles up all the laps led and fast laps and or place differential in the race, and you're kind of forced to go there. So people like Cindric, people like Ty Gibbs, I like a lot. People like Brett Moffitt in the back, starting 16th. I think he has good place differential, and so I'm focusing on place differential this week. That's just where we're at. For a majority of my guys, I assume I'm going to have Cindric and Ty Gibbs in and out of lineups. I think you could play Cindric and Ty Gibbs together. That's what I'm kind of looking at here. I'm probably going to have lineups with them together, because I think both of them can hit optimal. If they go, you know, basically the way that I kind of just projected them, of splitting, you know, laps led and fast laps between them, nobody else can get them. Nobody else can get those. And these guys should be the 2 fastest cars. They keep flip-flopping the lead or getting fast laps. I think that's perfectly fine for those guys to work. Allgaier, I think he needs a lot to happen. He's expensive. I'm giving him some laps led and some fast laps, but I just don't see Allgaier getting there. I'll probably have Allgaier in the lineup, but when I'm really narrowing down who I want to go with, it's people who either are going to lead laps or off me place differential. That's just how it's going to go. So if you look at how Brandon Brown has performed at the road courses, I don't like him starting there. I don't see much happening from Brandon Jones. If you want to make an argument for Jeremy Clement staying up there, you can. Riley Herbst, I think Herbst is really going to struggle this week at Mid-Ohio. He struggled at other road courses, and we expect him to do well here. Now, granted, I mean, when you look at his finishes, it's either, you know, right at the top 10 or 30th. Very similar to Preston Pardus, to where it's either he's going to get a top 10 or he's going to finish 30th. That's just how it's going to be, because of that, you know, huge disparity in this possibility of finishing top 10 or basically DNFing. I'm not on Riley Herbst. And we'll talk a little bit about lineups. I'll talk about that when we get through kind of ranking these guys here. Let's see. It's the start of the new month. It's May. It's June 3rd. If you'd like to join my Patreon, ask me questions, talk to me about, you know, what you think of these lineups, or what are my ownerships, or like if you ask me, like some guys do in the Discord, like, hey, what are your ownerships to these top guys? What are your ownership to this? How much do you own of that guy? That's what I talk about in Discord. That's what I answer. I try and bring things up. I try and ask questions, or I try and answer questions. But, you know, I don't get many questions here on YouTube anymore. So, you know, I don't really have much to answer. Hopefully I'm not rambling too much here. I got Haley staying exactly where he's at. Hemrick might get there just based on the amount of points he gets. I don't have him hitting value, but I do have him finishing around 7th to 5th on most projections. Absolutely love AJ Allmendinger. I like Gregson too. He's just expensive. Like it's hard to get Hemrick and Gregson to work in a 10K lineup if you're paying up for, say, Cindric and AJ Allmendinger, or Ty Gibbs and AJ Allmendinger, or Cindric and Ty Gibbs. It's hard to fit Hemrick and Gregson in there. I would prefer Gregson over Hemrick. I think people are going to be a bit hesitant to play Gregson due to the fact that he lost the transmission at COTA. But the same thing happened to Miguel Paluto, and they were running decent when that happened. I don't see that happening again. You know, sometimes stuff just breaks. You know, people forget that all the time. They're like, oh, man, you know, Chimp Ganassi, you know, these guys, granted, you know, it was a Chimp Ganassi issue at the Coca-Cola 600, but like sometimes parts just fail. You have a bad part that you put into service, or, you know, transmission issues on Gregson and Miguel Paluto. Sometimes things just break. That doesn't concern me here. Like, it just doesn't concern me. Myatt Snyder, history at road courses, but man, for somebody with a lot of history, he has not been performing well at all. I'll leave him in there. Michael Annett, we're giving him like 13th. If things get crazy, I don't expect him to do it. I think this will be a very clean race, a very green race. Maybe that's when Michael Annett gets in there. It's hard for me to see Michael Annett really working out. I think LeBay is going to be very popular. I have him a hitting value as well. I'm giving him a 10th place finish. Is that crazy? Can he do worse than that? Yeah, he can. We've seen Alex LeBay really do worse than that, but that's where I'm going to project LeBay right now. Ryan Vargas is by far the worst driver I've ever witnessed in my entire life. So we're going to get rid of that. Jade's interesting. Giving him around 16th to 17th. If you look at how Jade has ran this year in the Xfinity Series, you know, or basically his past road racing experience, you know, going back all the way to the Roval in 2019, Road America in 2019. So these are his finishes: 15th, 36th, 16th, 14th, 8th, and 19th. I think giving Jade a 16th place finish is fine. At 6K, that's going to work out. It just depends on what happens here. I know I know we're at Mid-Ohio. I usually just group road courses together. I'm not one of those that considers the Roval at Charlotte and Daytona its own course and then an actual road course. I kind of just group them together, really. If you have the ability to drive on road courses where you're really technical and you're paying attention to, you know, the corners, where to hit the apexes and everything like that, like it transcends whatever type of road course it is. So I'm personally not one of those guys that, you know, only looks at a certain road course. If anything, I'm going to look at the amount of the speed that you usually carry into the corners. I think that plays a bigger role. Like if you're comparing Watkins Glen and Sonoma, yeah, those are two different animals. You're going to see people who are typically better at Watkins Glen than Sonoma, but typically the road course guys are still going to be good across the board. It just, what track better fits their driving style? Are they a fast driver who likes to go through, you know, maybe not fast, but like, are they better at road courses that have sweeping turns, or road courses where you basically have to stop at every corner? You know, that's the thing I focus on, not necessarily is it a Roval track or is it a real road course per se. It just, I look at speed and things of that nature. So usually Mid-Ohio is a faster type of track. So, you know, it doesn't really matter for Xfinity because we go to so many different places. You know, you typically see the same guys do better. But answering that question that nobody asked right there. Landon Castle, let's see, where are we at here? Landon Castle, probably going to give him an 18th. So he'll barely be in there. And so typically A's here are guys that I absolutely love. I'm giving you a B by default if you hit 5x or around 5x. C if you're barely missing it, if you're around a 4x. D, you know, if you're at the bottom of a 4x and possibly can get there with Rex and things of that nature. And then F is just, I'm not paying attention to you at all. Don't plan on playing you. Cody Ware is there, 4.7x right now. Jesse Little, that's a big no. Ryan Sieg. So if you look at drivers like Ryan Sieg, and it kind of goes back to, you know, who's good at road course and who's not. Ryan Sieg, if you look across the board, his best finish, you know, was Road America, 11th. Road America finished 9th in 2020. He also finished 11th at the Daytona Road Course. Other than those, you're seeing him around 15th place and then in the 20s. You know, just because he's in a good car at $7,600, I'm not going to automatically project Ryan Sieg to finish 9th or anything like that. And so, you know, I have to give Ryan Sieg, I just lost him. You know, I got to give him like 19th, 18th place finish. Now, granted, yeah, these guys can do better, these guys can do worse, but, you know, for a baseline, I just got to project these guys for, you know, finishing around where they should run. And in a race where, like I said, I think it's going to go green, I don't see Ryan Sieg getting through the field. I know he looks like a great place differential, and I love playing him at the intermediate tracks, and I will continue to play him at the intermediate tracks, but here, I don't see Ryan Sieg doing much here. So that's a big no for Ryan Sieg. You know, Josh Williams, another guy who, in your mind, it's like, yeah, you know, he's got LeBay, he's got Preston Pardus there, but if you look at Josh Williams' finishes, I'm just not on him this week. I don't want to play Josh Williams, and I think he gained some ownership because you see, you know, these guys starting 23rd, 24th, getting place differential. I just probably won't go there. I think Tommy Joe Martins. So here's another thing. Depending on where you project Tommy Joe Martins, depending on what you give Kyle Weatherman, Jade Buford, it's going to want to force them into the optimal lineup. I like Tommy Joe Martins. I don't know the likelihood that he's optimal because he's been tearing up a lot of equipment. And in a guy who's saying that, like, hey, I'm going to try and get different drivers in here possibly later in the year. I basically put my house on the line to start this team. Last year, I had a lot of issues. This year, we're tearing up cars that really aren't my fault. And when you look at Tommy Joe Martins, his finishes have been, 35th, 24th, 13th, 35th, 27th, 35th, 29th, 40th. And then you go back to Montreal, 18th and 19th, Road America, 18th, 25th. If you give Tommy Joe Martins what he should do, if nothing bad happens to him, we're looking at giving Tommy Joe Martins a finish around, 18th, 19th. I think there he's optimal. Does he get there if he finishes, 23rd, 24th? I don't necessarily think so. So right now I have him as an A just because I plan on getting to Tommy Joe Martins. But like I said, I'm playing 15 lineups. So instead of Tommy Joe Martins, I'll play Kyle Weatherman. Instead of Kyle Weatherman, I'll play Bailey Curry, just in case those cars actually stay together and they finish well. That's why I like multi-entering. I like running a lot of lineups to try and cover a lot of bases. That's always more fun for me, but some people don't like that. Or I know a lot of people that listen to me do single entries, which, I do that too, depending on the week. But man, it gets there. So like Andy Lally, here's another situation to where I think Andy Lally is a great play. I'm giving him a 5.2x. However, I'm giving Andy, where are we giving him right now? I'm giving him like 14th. I'm not giving Andy Lally, those top 5 finishes that we saw him in good equipment have. He's in an R Motorsports car. At least he should be. God, I hope he is. I didn't even bother to look. I assume he's still driving. I guess I should probably do that. Give me a second here. Yeah, and Andy's in 23 for R Motorsports. And so, like, if I'm giving Andy, at like 14th, and I love this guy here, if he gets a top 10, obviously, I think Lally is optimal. Obviously, if he gets a top 10, that's just how it's going to be. I project him for like 14th right now, giving him 16th. He should have ran better at COTA. Like that. For somebody talking about, oh man, I got all this experience at COTA, and like, oh, Andy Lally's a great road course racer. Like, you shouldn't be getting whooped by Cindric. Like, you shouldn't be getting whooped by Kyle Busch. You should be finishing better than where you're at. And so, I think if you're projecting Lally for like an 8th, 5th place finish, I think that's a lot for Andy. Giving him a 15th, I think that's perfectly fine for him to hit. Long story short, if I like him at 15th, I'll own him. If he gets an 8th place finish, even better for me. But I have my expectations down for Andy at like 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Like, I would not be shocked if Andy finishes 18th here. I still don't mind that play, just don't get your hopes up that he's going to like knock the field down. Let's see, Ryan Ellis, absolutely nothing there. And so Miguel Paluto, I wrote this down because I went back and I wanted to see when Gragson and when Miguel blew the transmissions last week or at COTA. Miguel was running 6th place when he lost his transmission. When you look at how Paluto was finished in the Xfinity Series, these last, not Miguel, I'm thinking of another guy. It's always the A car. Either way, 7th at Daytona Road Course, 34th at COTA. Both these finishes should have been, around 7th, around 6th, around 8th, around there. I like Paluto, However, I feel like Paluto, Pardus, Lally. Well, Lally's probably safer than Paluto and Pardus, but I see these guys either finishing 8th or 9th or finishing 30th. That's usually how it is. The road course ringers are, they're ringers here for a reason. They want to get those teams wins, but they're either top 10 finishes or 30s. There is absolutely no middle ground, in my opinion, for a lot of these road course ringers. So keep that in mind. I think Paluto, Lally, is they're gonna have a lot of ownership, and for good reason. But I think there's a good chance that these guys struggle, that these guys bust. Same thing with Josh Berry and the Jordan Anderson car, starting 97 or at $9,700. I think there's a lot of leeway there for these guys to struggle. So like right now, I'm giving Lally 47 points. I'm giving Paluto 51. Obviously, that's going to go higher if I project him to do higher, but that's just where I have him as baseline. Right over 5x, and I don't think that's bad. I think that's all we're going to need this week. Howard, we're going to leave him in there. If you don't want to go Tommy Joe Martins, you're going to be going Kobe Howard. Josh Berry, I'm giving Josh Berry 42 points. He's a late model guy. He doesn't do a whole lot of road course racing. He has a ton of talent, but yet again, I can't just give Josh Berry because he's a good driver and he's in good equipment. I can't just give him a 7th place finish and things of that nature. So I think 42 points for Josh Berry is fine. I think he's there. He's not hitting 5x for me yet. Obviously, if I project him to finish, 10th and 8, lock him in. But, I got to keep everything in line. Otherwise, the optimizer just wants to shove in certain guys. I got to try and, really keep the player pool open and open a lot of possibilities to try and get different lineups. Hopefully, this is helping you out. Hopefully, you're not bored out of your mind. Type in the comment section right now. Do you like this, or are you bored and you want to, bring Kurt Cobain's microphone out? Just end it here. Chris Wright. So yet again, here's the situation. 6,200. Chris Wright, a road course racer, a ringer, and a guy who has talent in and out of stock cars. Like, say what you will about Chris Wright, I love him in this situation for Sam Hunt Racing in the 26 car. An absolute stud of a road course guy. I have to project him to get in the top 15. Let me just check the thing. Sorry, as I was going through and making sure that he was in the Sam Hunt car, so they tagged Enfinger from last week. I was like, what? Did Enfinger did Chris get bumped? Either way, my opinion still stands here. I think Chris Wright is a great play, and so it comes to that situation of if I'm perfectly fine, not playing Miguel Paluto and playing, Ty Gibbs or Austin Cindric. Same thing with Andy Lally and focusing on guys like Chris Wright, Tommy Joe Martins, other guys that offer place differential. Let's see where we're at here. Matt Jaskal, not going to do much there. Road course ringer, he needs more time. He needs more laps for NASCAR to let him do more, but I don't see much from Matt there. Now, Weatherman, now this is a Mike Harmon car. You could have mechanical issues. Same thing that just happened to Tommy Joe Martin. Same thing, Colby Howard. The Mike Harmon cars are either going to finish very well, top 15, possibly even a top 10 for Weatherman, or DNF. That's just how it's going to be. And so I have him ranked as an A. I think Weatherman's extremely risky because there's a high chance that he has a mechanical issue. I love Weatherman. I'll if I get beat by a mechanical issue, that's just how it's going to be. Joe Graff Jr. Oddly enough, no talent Joe Graff Jr. is actually pretty good on the road courses. I like him. So, when you're going in and out of the punt range, you got Joe Graff Jr., Weatherman, Howard, Tommy Joe Martins. I'll probably have ownership to all these guys. I think you should as well. If I have to rank them in terms of how much I would love them, it's probably Kyle Weatherman, it's probably Tommy Joe Martins, and then it's Joe Graff Jr. That's how I would go about it. Bailey Curry, same thing. Right now, I'm giving Bailey Curry 15 DraftKings points. Why are you giving him a B, Brandon? Because he has that upside. It's the same argument for all the guys I just made. I think you need to consider Bailey Curry. He has the highest chance of finishing poorly, but I'm perfectly fine with that. Preston Pardus, I got to kind of nerf him. I got to give him 36 points. That's 17. That's close to 17 positions gained. But Preston Pardus, it's the same thing. Look at his finishes here. And I know one of these has his, I think it was Road America in 2019, when when him and his parents put together a car and they didn't even really get off the starting grid. But these finishes, 14th, 33rd, 31st, 10th, 32nd, 27th, 8th, and 36th, Pardus is a top 10 or he's 30th, So if you're playing him, You know, if you're playing him, you need him to at least get inside the top 20, bare minimum. That's to make it worth, you know, your wild. And I hate saying that, but man, these road course ringers are either they're going to do great or they're going to be horrible. That's just how it is, you know. So looking at the pool, looking at the guys that I like here, you know, I like the idea of playing Cindric and Gibbs together. I don't know if people are going to want to do that. I right now. Right now, some of the higher projected lineups I have Cindric and Ty Gibbs together, assuming that they just gobble up all the fast laps and laps led between those two. If you're not going that way, it's probably Cindric or AJ, Ty Gibbs or AJ. And like I said, people like Alex LeBay are going to want to get ownership because he's going to fit into a lot of lineups at $7,400. I like Brett Moffitt for a bit more. I don't know how easily it's going to be to get to Brett Moffitt if you're paying down or if you're paying up for Cindric or AJ and then Miguel Paluto and guys like there. So I like Brett Moffitt quite a bit. I like Andy Lally, you know, Tommy Joe Martins, Miguel Paluto, kind of the guys I talked about. Chris Wright should be extremely popular, which I don't mind that as well. I'll probably try and be overweight on Tommy Joe Martins and Kyle Weatherman. I think that's where I'm going to try and be overweight on. And Preston Pardus, right now, it is not like Preston Pardus. I'm giving Preston Pardus 36 points. I don't think that's a bad projection. I really don't think that's bad for Preston Pardus. If he does that, you know, we really need to try and get him to a top 10. And so I'm playing. If you play Preston Pardus, it's because you're expecting him to get a top 10. I think he's probably the riskier plays out of all the back markers, despite the fact he's starting second to last and can't lose him many points. I don't think he can get that many points. Honestly, I think that's where we're at here. If you guys like what I'm doing, if you guys want to help me out, support me. Patreon, BrandonCruzDFS. Give my projections, my heat map, my player pool, everything that I offer there. Support the channel. Help me out. I do appreciate it. And if not, hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully this gives you some, you know, ideas of how to go about things. And I'm trying to keep these from being boring and, you know, helpful at the same time. So thank you guys for watching. Check out my Cup Series video. It'll be up probably the same time this is up. So thank you.